Imagine sleeping outside tonight when it's 20 degrees below zero, with nothing but animal skins and a fire to keep you warm. No heated homes, no electric blankets, no insulated sleeping bags. For our Ice Age ancestors, this wasn't a survival challenge. It was Tuesday night. Yet somehow, these remarkable humans not only survived the harshest climate conditions our species has ever faced, but thrived in them for tens of thousands of years. The last glacial maximum, roughly 20,000 years ago, was a world of unimaginable cold. Ice sheets stretched across continents. Temperatures plummeted far below anything we experience today, and the landscape was a frozen wasteland where survival seemed impossible. Yet archaeological evidence tells us that humans were sleeping soundly in caves and shelters across Europe, Asia, and beyond, somehow managing to stay warm enough to not just survive, but raise families and build complex societies. How did they do it? The answer reveals an ingenious combination of physics, engineering, social cooperation, and survival strategies that would impress even modern outdoor experts. These weren't primitive brutes, shivering helplessly in the cold. They were sophisticated problem solvers who understood thermal dynamics better than most of us do today. The first secret was location, location, location. Not all caves were created equal, and Ice Age humans were remarkably selective about their sleeping spots. They sought out caves with specific characteristics that would maximize warmth retention. Deep caves were preferred over shallow ones because they maintained more stable temperatures year-round. The Earth itself acts as a massive thermal mass, and just a few meters underground, temperatures remain relatively constant regardless of surface conditions. Archaeological excavations at sites like Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic reveal that these early humans understood the concept of thermal zones within caves. They established their sleeping areas in the deepest sections, often 30 to 50 meters from the entrance, where temperatures could be 15 to 20 degrees warmer than outside. Recent studies using thermal imaging in similar cave systems show that these deep chambers maintain temperatures between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit, even when surface temperatures drop to -40. But caves alone weren't enough. The real genius lay in how they modified these natural shelters. Evidence from multiple Ice Age sites shows that humans built sophisticated windbreaks and entrance barriers using mammoth bones, stones, and animal hides. At the famous Mezmyskaya cave in Russia, archaeologists found evidence of elaborate entrance constructions designed to create airlocks, essentially primitive vestibules that prevented cold air from rushing directly into living spaces. These entrance modifications weren't just random piles of materials. They were carefully engineered thermal barriers that created multiple zones of gradually increasing warmth. Cold air would hit the first barrier, lose some of its bite, then encounter a second barrier, and so on, until by the time any air reached the sleeping area, it had been significantly warmed by contact with the thermal mass of the cave itself. Fire was obviously crucial, but Ice Age humans didn't just build any fire anywhere. They understood heat circulation and smoke management in ways that would make modern heating engineers proud. Archaeological evidence from sites like Cavemen Cave in Israel shows that hearths were strategically positioned to maximize heat distribution while minimizing smoke accumulation in sleeping areas. The positioning of fires reveals sophisticated understanding of air currents and thermal dynamics. Fires were typically built slightly downhill from sleeping areas, allowing warm air to rise naturally toward the sleeping zones while drawing cold air away. Multiple smaller fires were often preferred over single large ones because they provided more even heat distribution and were easier to maintain throughout the night. At sites like Riparo Mochi in Italy, researchers found evidence of reflected heat systems where fires were built near large stone surfaces that would absorb heat during the day and slowly release it throughout the night. These stones essentially functioned as primitive radiators, continuing to warm the sleeping area long after the flames had died down. The social aspect of Ice Age sleeping was perhaps the most crucial survival strategy. These humans understood that body heat was their most reliable source of warmth, and they maximized it through communal sleeping arrangements that were both practical and carefully organized. Evidence from multiple sites suggests that sleeping groups were arranged based on body size, age, and heat production. Adults, who generated the most body heat, were positioned on the outside of sleeping clusters, creating warm zones for children and elderly individuals in the center. This wasn't just kindness, it was survival strategy. Children and elderly people were more vulnerable to hypothermia, but also represented crucial knowledge and future survival of the group. The famous Sunghir burial site in Russia provides fascinating insights into these sleeping arrangements. The positioning of bodies and artifacts suggests that even in death, these people understood optimal thermal positioning. The elaborate beadwork and careful arrangement of bodies indicates that these weren't random sleeping spots, but thoughtfully organized communal rest areas. Pregnant women and new mothers were given special consideration in sleeping arrangements, often positioned closest to the most reliable heat sources. This makes perfect sense from a survival perspective. Pregnant women need extra calories to maintain body temperature, and newborns are particularly vulnerable to cold stress. The clothing and bedding technologies developed by Ice Age humans were remarkably sophisticated. Far from the crude animal skins often depicted in popular media, these people created complex layered systems that rivaled modern outdoor gear in effectiveness. Archaeological evidence from sites like Kostenki in Russia reveals that Ice Age humans understood the principles of insulation layering that we still use today. They wore base layers of soft fur directly against the skin, insulating layers of thicker fur or woven materials, and outer shells of treated leather or fur that provided wind and moisture protection. The famous Ötzi, the Iceman, though from a later period, gives us incredible insight into sophisticated cold-weather clothing construction. His outfit included a complex combination of different animal skins, chosen specifically for their thermal properties: bear fur for warmth, deer hide for flexibility, and carefully woven grass for insulation. For bedding, Ice Age humans created elaborate sleeping systems that were far more complex than simple animal skins thrown on the ground. Evidence from Paleolithic sites across Europe shows they built raised sleeping platforms using branches, stones, and packed materials to create insulation from the cold ground. Ground contact is one of the fastest ways to lose body heat, and these early humans clearly understood this principle. The bedding itself was a layered system. The bottom layer consisted of materials like dried grasses, pine needles, or moss, all excellent insulators that trapped air and created barriers against ground cold. Middle layers were typically made from the softest available furs, often from small animals like rabbits or foxes, whose dense fur provided excellent warmth-to-weight ratios. The top layers were larger animal skins, often from animals like reindeer, mammoth, or cave bear, chosen specifically for their size and thermal properties. These top layers weren't just coverings. They were carefully treated and prepared to maximize their insulating properties while remaining flexible enough for comfortable sleep. At the Paviland Cave in Wales, archaeologists found evidence of sophisticated hide preparation techniques that involved smoking, treatment with animal fats, and careful scraping to maintain flexibility even in extreme cold. These weren't hastily prepared survival materials. They were carefully crafted thermal systems that represented significant investment of time and skill. The diet and internal heat generation strategies used by Ice Age humans were equally sophisticated. These people understood that staying warm wasn't just about external insulation. It was about maintaining internal furnace that could generate heat from within. Archaeological analysis of Ice Age campsites reveals that these humans consumed diets extremely high in fats and proteins, particularly during winter months. Fat provides more than twice the calories per gram compared to carbohydrates or proteins, and burning fat for energy generates significant internal heat. Evidence from sites like Dolny Vestanic shows that mammoth bone marrow was a prized winter food, and for good reason. Bone marrow is almost pure fat and provides incredible caloric density. A single mammoth femur could provide enough high-energy food to keep a small group warm through multiple winter nights. But they didn't just consume fat randomly. Evidence suggests these humans understood the timing of fat consumption for optimal heat generation. High-fat meals were consumed before sleep, providing sustained energy release throughout the night. This is actually supported by modern sports science. Fat metabolism provides longer-lasting energy compared to carbohydrates, making it ideal for maintaining body temperature during long winter nights. The herbal knowledge of Ice Age humans also played a role in thermal regulation. Archaeobotanical evidence from multiple Paleolithic sites shows the use of warming herbs and teas that would stimulate circulation and internal heat production. Plants like pine needle tea, rich in vitamin C and natural stimulants, helped maintain cardiovascular health in extreme cold. The engineering principles behind Ice Age shelters reveal understanding of physics that wouldn't look out of place in a modern engineering textbook. These humans grasped concepts like thermal mass, air circulation, and heat retention that we still use in building design today. Air circulation was particularly crucial. Too little air circulation and carbon dioxide would build up to dangerous levels. Too much circulation and precious heat would be lost. Archaeological evidence suggests they created carefully controlled ventilation systems using strategic gaps in cave modifications that allowed just enough air exchange to maintain breathability without significant heat loss. The thermal mass principle was used extensively. Large stones were positioned near fires during the day to absorb heat, then moved closer to sleeping areas at night to provide sustained warmth. Some sites show evidence of heated stone systems where stones were heated in fires, then wrapped in skins and used as primitive hot water bottles. At the Grotte du Rennes site in France, archaeologists found evidence of sophisticated heat distribution systems where warm air from fires was channeled through stone-lined passages to sleeping areas. These weren't accidental discoveries. They represent intentional engineering solutions to thermal management problems. The psychological aspects of staying warm were equally important. Modern survival psychology tells us that maintaining morale and group cohesion is crucial for surviving extreme conditions, and Ice Age humans seem to have understood this instinctively. Evening activities before sleep often involved storytelling, music, and social bonding that served multiple purposes. These activities kept people awake and active until everyone could sleep together, maximizing communal body heat. They also maintained group morale during the darkest, coldest months when depression and despair could be as deadly as hypothermia. Archaeological evidence from sites like Hohlfels Cave in Germany includes carved figurines, musical instruments, and art materials that suggest rich cultural lives continued even during the harshest winter conditions. These weren't just survival camps. They were communities where people maintained social connections and cultural practices that helped them psychologically survive months of brutal cold. The timing of sleep was also strategically managed. Rather than trying to sleep through entire winter nights, which could last 14-16 hours in northern regions, evidence suggests these groups often used polyphasic sleep patterns, multiple shorter sleep periods, with active warming breaks in between. During these warming breaks, fires would be tended, hot drinks consumed, and physical activity would generate body heat before returning to sleep. This pattern is actually more effective for maintaining body temperature than trying to sleep continuously through extremely long cold nights. Seasonal preparation was absolutely crucial for winter survival. Archaeological evidence shows that preparation for winter sleeping began months in advance, with systematic collection and preparation of materials needed for thermal survival. Summer months were spent gathering insulating materials like animal fur, bird down, and plant fibers. Evidence from sites across Europe shows massive accumulations of prepared sleeping materials, far more than would be needed for immediate use. These represented strategic stockpiling for winter survival. Hide preparation was an intensive summer activity. The best sleeping furs required months of careful treatment to achieve optimal thermal properties while maintaining flexibility. Evidence suggests that different furs were prepared for different purposes. Some optimized for ground insulation, others for body covering, and still others for wind protection. The hunting patterns of Ice Age humans also reflect thermal preparation strategies. Archaeological evidence suggests that certain animals were hunted specifically for their thermal properties rather than just for food. Arctic foxes, with their incredibly dense winter fur, were prized for sleeping materials, even though they provided relatively little meat. Regional variations in sleeping strategies reveal how adaptable these early humans were to different environmental challenges. Evidence from Siberian sites shows different approaches compared to European sites, reflecting adaptation to even more extreme conditions. In the mammoth steppes of Siberia, where caves were scarce, humans built elaborate pit houses partially underground for thermal protection. At sites like Malta and Buret, archaeologists found evidence of sophisticated underground sleeping chambers lined with mammoth bones and thick layers of fur. These Siberian adaptations included heated floors, systems where fire-warmed stones were buried under sleeping areas to provide ground heating throughout the night. This represents incredibly sophisticated understanding of thermal engineering, creating heated sleeping surfaces that remained warm for hours after the heating process ended. In contrast, alpine sites show different strategies adapted to high-altitude conditions, where oxygen levels were lower and wind exposure was extreme. These sites feature evidence of more compact, heavily insulated sleeping spaces, designed to minimize air volume that needed to be heated. The tool technologies specifically designed for thermal management were remarkably sophisticated. Beyond obvious items like clothing and bedding, Ice Age humans created specialized tools for heat generation and retention. Fire management tools included not just basic implements for creating fire, but sophisticated devices for maintaining optimal heat output. Evidence includes carefully shaped fire screens made from stone or hide that directed heat towards sleeping areas, while preventing excessive smoke accumulation. Heating stone tools were specialized implements designed specifically for moving hot stones safely from fires to sleeping areas. These weren't improvised solutions. They were purpose-built tools that show systematic approach to thermal management. Some sites contain evidence of primitive heat exchangers, systems where cold, Incoming air was warmed by contact with hot, outgoing air, maximizing thermal efficiency in cave environments. These represent engineering solutions that wouldn't be out of place in modern heating systems. The health implications of Ice Age sleeping strategies reveal how well adapted these systems were to human physiology. Rather than just barely surviving winter conditions, evidence suggests these humans maintained good health throughout cold seasons. Skeletal evidence from Ice Age sites shows remarkably low rates of cold-related injuries like frostbite or hypothermia damage. This suggests their thermal management systems were highly effective at maintaining core body temperature and protecting extremities. Dental evidence indicates these populations maintained good nutrition throughout winter months, suggesting their sleeping and thermal strategies didn't require excessive caloric expenditure just to stay warm. This meant calories could be used for immune function, growth, and reproduction rather than just survival. Archaeological evidence of successful child rearing during Ice Age winters indicates that sleeping systems were effective enough to protect the most vulnerable group members. Children require more calories per body weight to maintain temperature, and successful winter survival of children indicates highly effective thermal management. The longevity evidenced in some Ice Age skeletal remains, individuals living well into their 40s and beyond, despite harsh conditions, suggests these thermal strategies were sustainable long-term, not just short-term survival methods. Modern experimental archaeology has attempted to recreate Ice Age sleeping conditions, providing fascinating insights into the effectiveness of these ancient strategies. Researchers who spent winter nights in reconstructed Ice Age shelters using period-appropriate materials consistently report being surprisingly comfortable even in sub-zero conditions. These experiments confirm that the layered insulation systems used by Ice Age humans are remarkably effective. Test subjects using mammoth hide coverings, fur layers, and heated stone systems reported staying warm through nights, with external temperatures reaching -20 degrees Fahrenheit. The communal sleeping strategies prove particularly effective in experimental conditions. Groups of people sleeping together using Ice Age methods generate enough combined body heat to maintain comfortable temperatures, even when individual survival would be questionable. Modern survival experts who have studied Ice Age thermal strategies consistently express amazement at the sophistication of these systems. Many techniques developed 20,000 years ago remain essentially unchanged in modern, extreme cold survival training. The legacy of Ice Age sleeping strategies can be seen in traditional cultures around the world that continue to use similar techniques. Inuit sleeping practices, Mongolian yurt heating systems, and Scandinavian traditional winter survival methods all share core principles with Ice Age thermal management. Even modern outdoor gear and sleeping systems often rediscover principles that Ice Age humans mastered millennia ago. Layered insulation, thermal mass heating, communal warmth sharing, and strategic ventilation remain fundamental concepts in contemporary cold weather survival. These Ice Age humans weren't just surviving, they were thriving in conditions that would challenge even modern humans equipped with advanced technology. Their success came not from individual toughness, but from sophisticated understanding of physics, careful preparation, social cooperation, and ingenious engineering solutions. Their thermal management systems represent some of humanity's earliest triumphs of intellect over environment, showing that our ancestors' greatest survival tool wasn't their bodies, it was their minds. They observed, experimented, innovated, and passed down increasingly sophisticated solutions that allowed our species to not just survive the Ice Age, but to emerge from it stronger and more capable than ever. The next time you complain about cold night in your heated home, remember these remarkable ancestors who turned frozen caves into warm, comfortable homes, using nothing but intelligence, cooperation, and an unshakable determination to not just survive, but to live well even in Earth's most challenging conditions. If you're fascinated by how our ancestors mastered seemingly impossible survival challenges, make sure to subscribe to this channel. We're diving deep into the real science and strategies behind prehistoric human survival, debunking myths and revealing the incredible ingenuity of our ancient relatives. Hit that like button if this changed how you think about Ice Age humans, and let me know in the comments what other prehistoric survival mysteries you'd like us to explore. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll uncover more amazing secrets of human survival and adaptation.